Hi everyone, it's Lindian from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to create this really fun panda card, and we're going to be creating a diorama. And I'll show you how quick and easy this is to do. I'll give you all the instructions as we go along. So why don't we go ahead and get started. So let's start by creating the diorama base for our card. This is the Fawn Ta-Da diorama set, and this piece here is going to create the front of the diorama, and that's going to be the opening. And then that piece will cut two of those, and that will create the little slider for the in and out portion of it. Those little slots will allow the little borders to be inside your card. You can be grassy borders or snowy borders, whatever you like. And then this piece here is going to go behind that front frame, so it will allow the movement of the diorama to open and close. I've got the little clouds, there's a moon, and there's a couple little banner dies in this set as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the paper we're going to be using. I've got this pretty black and white check plaid, and that's from the Art Impressions Christmas Season 2 paper pack. You can see all the really fantastic papers you get in that set. And I'm going to die cut two of this panel. So I'm going to grab a second piece of that plaid paper. And then for the frame on the front of the card, we'll be using this pretty kind of pink dotted paper. It's kind of a reddish pink. And that is going to come from the Art Impressions paper pad, and this is the Valentine paper pad. And again, you get tons of really pretty papers in this set. So then I'll also die cut a second one of that panel out of the heart paper from that same paper pack. So now I've got all of my dies ready to go, and all the leftover dies, the border and the clouds, and that little mechanism for behind the front frame will all be die cut out of some Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. So you can see there we have the frame for the front of the card and that back panel. We've got the two plaid pieces for the interactive portion. We've got the two borders for the inside of the card. We've got the two pieces we need for our mechanism, and then we've got several little clouds. And by the way, that cloud die cuts the outer frame and the inner portion of the cloud as well, which is really fun. So you can use it either way. So next, let's go ahead and die cut the little slits we need for our borders inside our diorama. So I've got these two little dies. These come with the set, and Fawn likes to call them little boot dies. And you want to face the toe of the boot towards the largest panel. So you can see that that boot is facing that widest panel. And I'm centering it on this center panel. So you can see that boot again is facing that larger panel. I've centered it on the center panel, and I've lined it up with the bottom of each of those plaid pieces of paper. We'll go ahead and run that through the die cutting machine, and I'm hoping you can see that it die cut two slits on each of these panels. I've got the Fawn 1/4 inch double-sided tape, and we'll go ahead and attach these to the base of our diorama. So I'm going to use two strips of this. This is a nice strong adhesive. You do want something very strong here because again, these panels are going to be moving in and out. So again, I'm going to place the adhesive on that smallest panel, and I'll place two strips of it, and I'm just lining it up right along the score lines. Now let's take the Cricut Weeder tool, and I'm just pressing it with the flat end, and that will allow me to easily pull that backing off. I'm going to do that for both of these. And then what we're going to do is fold this in half. I'm going to grab the base of our diorama. That's the little heart-shaped panel. And we don't want to use the one with the frame cut out of it. That will be for the front of the diorama. So let's set that aside. Now we're going to take this plaid and fold it right in half. And you can see our adhesive is right there on the back side. And then we'll line that up against the right section of the base. And then we'll do the same thing for the other one on the left side. So we're just lining it up along the left and right sides. and centering it on the top and bottom. And you can see how easily this moves in and out. Now we'll grab a couple of those borders. I've got 2 of them. You can use one or both. It doesn't matter, whatever you prefer inside your little diorama. And there are some new add-ons for these. There's some little hillside borders now that are separately available as dies. And what I'm using is the Spun Sugar Distress Oxide ink. I'm using it on the top of each of those borders, and then I'm going to use it right along the bottom of each of these clouds. So let's fold the little tabs on these borders, and I'm just folding them back away from myself. And there is a score line there. I'll show you that in a second. Once I slide it into the back slot, I'm going to then open up those tabs on each side, and that will lock this right into place. You can see that. And then here, there's that little score line, and that's on all 4 of these. So I'm just going to push all 4 of those tabs back again. Keep them folded back while I slide them into these little slots on either side. And then you want to open that back up. And again, that will lock this right into place. So now you can see how cute this is with our little borders in there. Now, I've got the 2 pieces, the 2 mechanism pieces, and they also have score lines. I'm going to fold again away from myself on both of those. And then I'm going to put adhesive on all 4 of those little tabs. I'll use that same 1/4 inch double-sided tape. Again, I want something nice and strong. So I'll put a couple little strips on each of those tabs. And I did that for all 4 of these tabs. Now again, I'm using that Cricut Weeding tool to remove the backings. And now I can fold those tabs back, and that little notch is going to line up with the notch on the frame of our card. But we want to flip the frame over first. So you want the back side of your frame, and then I'm going to line up the notch and glue that or tape that in place. So let's do that again. So again, I'm on the back side of the frame. I'm pushing those tabs back. I'm lining up the little notch with the notch on the frame, and then I'm just going to tape that down. And now you see that creates the little opening that we need for our slider mechanism. So let's go ahead and put this together. We're going to slide the left panel and the right panel in through those little openings that we've created. And there we have the ta-da diorama. So that's all it is. That's how easy this is to put together. These are really fun and really easy and simple to do. I know it looks kind of complicated, but it's really quite simple. For images, I'm going to be using the Pand-tastic Set from Art Impressions. I love these little pandas. They are just so cute. We're going to use that little trio of pandas and that single panda with his arm up. We're going to use a sentiment from this set, and you also get the little paw and the bamboo. So this is a nice little set. I've got my Versafine Onyx black ink, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp these onto some Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. Let's go ahead and do some coloring. I'm going to be using sugared almond pink and light gray. I'll add the pink to the cheeks and to his little paw. Then I'll add the light gray around his face. I'm going to keep the face the lightest. And these are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens that I'm using. And I'm using the Zig Blender pen to do my blending. I'm also going to be adding some Cool Gray number 3 and Cool Gray number 6. So that'll add a few of the darker shadows that we need. And all of the colors I'm using today will be listed in that upper left-hand corner as we're going along. I also want to mention that all of the products I'm using today are listed and linked down below and also on my blog. And just also to let you know that I do receive a small commission on any purchases you make through those links at no additional cost to you, but it does help to support my blog and my channel. So I really appreciate any of you and all of you that have been doing that for me. So again, I'm adding some shadows and I'm just using that blender to blend those out, and you could certainly use a water brush here if you prefer. These are a water-based pen, so either way will work just fine. And I'm only going to color in this one panda on camera. I did all the other three the exact same way, same colors, so it's really easy to do. I didn't want to bore you with all of the coloring, so I'm just going to show you this one. And to get the coloring on the panda correct, I use the packaging. As I've said many times before, Art Impression, the packaging is just fantastic. It gives you ideas for colors. It gives you shadowing ideas. You don't have to follow it, but it certainly helps. So sometimes I'll use that as my guide for where to put what colors. So here I'm just going to add a little bit of shadowing. Now I like to keep the pandas a little bit on the lighter side. You can certainly go with a darker. You could use black. I find that a little difficult to work with sometimes, so I like to go to my grays. Whenever I'm doing the black tones, I tend to go to my grays, my darker grays, and do some blending with them. Got a little bit of light gray that I'm just adding for a few shadows, and then a little bit of pink on the tongue. And the only thing I'll show you here for the colors is light carmine on the little party hats. Just adding a little bit to the base of the party hat and just pulling up towards the top. A little bit of that light pink on the little pom-poms. And then I've got my detail scissors, and I'm going to cut around these images. There are no coordinating dies for this set, but this is some really easy cutting. I'm leaving a little white border all the way around. So I did the rest of that coloring off camera. Now this is going to go in the back part of our diorama. So what I'm doing here is just trying to see about how wide that diorama is. And I'm using one of the border dies just to help me figure that out. Putting a little pencil line on either side of those bears, and I can go ahead and cut these to fit them again inside the diorama. And I did take a little time. I kept just snipping off little tiny pieces at a time until I got just the right size. So I took a little bit of time to slice off little pieces. Now I've got my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I'm going to place plenty of this on the back, and I do want to kind of spread it out with my fingers a little bit just to make sure this lays nice and flat, because again, everything is moving, it's interactive, so I want to make sure that everything lays nice and flat in the back. So I'm placing this all the way on that back panel. I'm just making sure I press that out really well. And now I want the little bear for the front, but I don't want to put glue on the whole thing because I don't want it to close my diorama. I'm just going to put it on that left side of the bear and sort of towards the bottom of the little bear. And I'm just going to attach that right to this front frame. So I'm really only putting glue where the frame is. You do want to check that, make sure you have some good movement there. I did see a little tiny bit of glue there, and I'm just brushing it away with my finger. So now let's add the clouds. I'm going to add these to the plaid paper. You do, again, want to make sure you glue these nice and flat. You don't want them to interfere with the opening and closing of your mechanism. So you do want to make sure you place those nice and flat on these panels. And I didn't overlap any. I kept them separate, again, to not have too much bulk. Now this little cloud I'm going to close it so I can see exactly where that's going to be. And that cloud that I placed at the top of the frame, we'll be trimming that down a little bit later, but I'm going to let that dry for now. And let's go back to that same stamp set and the same paper pack that we used before. I'm going to grab this kind of pretty little bit of a plaid looking paper, kind of a random plaid. I'm going to put some pink and Maine anti-static powder on there because we're going to emboss this. I'm going to stamp it with the Versafine Onyx black ink, which is a permanent ink and will dry fairly quickly, but I do have some time to put some clear embossing powder on this. I wanted to make sure that it dried really well and it would have a little bit of a glossy finish to it. So I've got my heat tool and I'm going to go ahead and heat set this. Now let's grab that banner die. That is from the same Ta-Da diorama set. I love that they give you a couple little banners in this set as well. And our little sentiment says, "Hope your day is fantastic." So that is really cute. So we've got the little banner. I'm going to place plenty of adhesive on the back of this banner. And I'll again smooth that out with my finger a little bit, making sure I have glue edge to edge. And then I'm going to slide that right onto that first border. I'm going to leave that second border plain. I just kept it there for a little bit of dimension and interest. You could remove that if you want as well. Remember, when we put those two into those slots, we don't have to put both of them in. We can just put in one or both, but I'm going to leave both of them there. So let's go ahead and create our card. I've got a piece of paper that measures 5 inches by 7.5 inches, and I'm going to score it at 3 3/4 inch. And this is the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. And so let's go ahead and press that out. So I'm creating a little bit smaller card, but I wanted something for my diorama to sit on. You could certainly just put a backing on this and leave it as is, but I wanted a little place to write a note. So let's go ahead and center this on the card. And then here you can see where I did cut away some of that cloud at the very top. I just took my scissors and cut that off. I didn't want it to interfere with anything, and I thought it was blocking the little bears in the background a little bit too much. So let's take a closer look at the finished diorama, and I just love these little bears and how cute this is. And I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you see how simple and easy this is to do. And please hit the like button if you enjoyed today's video, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.